All right, so it's May. This isn't going to be a theme month. It might be, maybe. It's the first month. We can get wacky. But I was thinking about the concept of slow burner, Sean.
I thought you were going to say sharding month. That could have been
Shart month. Shart month is a great idea. Are there other movies with sharts?
It's like where it was almost a mess, but then we saved it at the last minute. You know,
Shart month. Shart week. I guess we can make this Shart week. Shart week.
Love it.
It's
great.
That's
It's
Shart
right
week
there.
here in the Rewatchables.
Still got it, SG.
So there's cult favorites, which is kind of the foundation of the Rewatchables. Escape from New York, Swingers, Shot Caller, Den of Thieves.
Hey, Shot Caller episode, A+.
Thank you.
One of my favorites in a long time.
One.
Really great.
Proof of Life, cult favorite.
Not
everyone
A+.
loves Proof of Life.
D-.
8 millimeter.
Yeah. Cult movie.
Favorite.
Yeah.
Cruising.
Yeah. For a certain kind of person.
Along Came Polly is not a cult favorite because it made a lot of money.
It was a big hit.
So I was thinking, but it was critically, came out. There was Stiller fatigue. There was Aniston fatigue. But it was a cult favorite that also made money. So I was thinking this is a new category called slow burner.
Okay.
Slow burners. Miami Vice, the movie. Made money when it came out, but people are like, And then as I got to know Chris Ryan, early 2010s, and we're like, I kind of like the Miami Vice movies. Like, I do too. Mojitos. And by 2016, we're like, we got to do a podcast.
You guys were in Go Fast boats together, straight to Cuba.
So I Married an Axe Murderer, I think is a slow burner.
Good one. Good
Did
call.
well, but not respected,
Definitely.
but then grew. Hardball with Keanu Reeves. See, we've done all these on the Rewatchables.
Yeah.
Came out, people are like, what the hell? Keanu's smoking, he's gambling.
This is like I've just put on the Bill Simmons sunglasses, like in They Live.
Yeah,
and I can see
it's
the
like They
world
Live.
through your eyes.
Yeah.
You know, this is how you see movies.
The slow burner sunglasses. Limitless with Bradley Cooper.
Good one, yeah.
Did really well, but nobody took it seriously. And then it went on cable and people were like, this movie's incredible.
You're describing movies that seem like you can write them off when they are released, whether they're successful or not. But when you dive into them, there's a lot there. There's a lot of meat on the bone. Are they Citizen Kane? No, they're not. They're definitively not Citizen Kane. But they're kind of great in their own unique, mediocre way.
I don't even think I saw Along Came Polly in the theater. And I don't really even remember when I first saw it. But Hoffman was the thing that jumped out of it. And as the years passed, and it was 20 years. It's actually 20-year anniversary of this movie was in January. We missed it. And the fact that
I was at the parade. We did a parade in Times Square. Yeah,
parade?
It was huge. It was incredible.
The fact that Hoffman was just so great in this, and it's such like a special, unique Hoffman performance, turned this movie into something else. And now it's like almost a classic, which is crazy because it's like a generic Ben Stiller rom-com for the most part with this insane Philip Seymour Hoffman performance in it.
Yeah, I think it's a solid comedy of its era that happens to have basically rocket fuel inside of it in the form of Philip Seymour Hoffman. And I wonder if we would have seen it in quite the same way if he hadn't tragically died when he did. And because now you look at like every Hoffman performance and you're like, what can we cherish about this? What did we overlook about this? Why didn't we celebrate this in time the way that we deserve to? But he's doing something that he almost never really did again, which was just like pure, broad studio comedy. Like he really did not do very much of that. He's often funny in movies, but from the very first moment you see him in this movie, he's doing a pratfall. Like he's doing a Farrelly Brothers gag. And so, you know, this is the one time when you can really lift him up and be like, he could have been also Jim Carrey if you wanted to be. Well,
you're the world's preeminent Phil Hoffman expert.
Am I?
You've done an entire Phil Hoffman podcast.
I did.
You've written about him. No, but I think a lot of people loved him, including me, but I think you probably loved him the most.
He was my favorite actor.
I think one of the things I love about this movie is it's the equivalent of, I don't know, if you took LeBron James in 2013 and you just put him on a college basketball team for like 10-minute stretches.
But it would be like if you put him on a college football team. You know, like it's not, because this isn't.
True, you're right.
This isn't like
he was just
sport.
a wide receiver and he was like the best wide receiver in college football. And you're like, what? So he's basically doing this part that has existed in rom-coms for the entire time we've had rom-coms. And in a different universe, it's a Jack Black part. Right?
I wonder if they even thought about him for this part.
Yeah, he's probably the second call if they couldn't get Hoffman.
Ben Stiller did a movie with Jack Black in this same year, actually. A movie called Envy.
Right. Galifianakis in The Hangover is another example of this, where it's actually somebody a little overqualified to be in the part. This is the most overqualified I think an actor can be for a movie. Like it would be like if you just put him in Scream in the David Arquette part, and it's like here's Philip Seymour Hoffman as what was that character's name? Who's slightly brain damaged?
Randy.
No, what was the Scream character's name, Craig?
I don't know.
Binky?
Scream?
It was something.
The Jamie Kennedy part?
No, the David Arquette part.
Oh, the David Arquette part. Dewey.
Dewey. It's like if Philip Seymour Hoffman was Dewey, we'd be like, this is weird. But he did this a few times in his career, which is one of the cool things about his career. Like he's just in Twister randomly.
Yep.
He's the prep school kid in Son of a Woman. He's Scotty J Boogie Nights. For some reason, then you flip the other side. He's in Magnolia with like the kind of the most nothing part in the movie, but makes the most of it. And this has just seemed like what drove him. I just want to do this weird part, this weird part.
You get the impression, I mean, a lot of those roles you just mentioned were when he was still trying to make it as a movie actor. You know, like in Twister, he's still coming up. He's not a character actor yet. People don't even know who he is. At this point in his career, he's pretty established as Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not sure how much of this was for the money and how much of it was that he liked movies like this. And, you know, we know, like, for example, his buddy Paul Thomas Anderson loves Adam Sandler, loves broad studio comedies.
Yeah.
You know, like that's some of his favorite stuff. You could imagine them bonding over movies like this. So the chance to get to do a movie like this is not that surprising. I mean, 2 years later, he's in a Mission Impossible movie. Same thing. It's like they put a battery in the back of that movie by putting the world's greatest actor in a villain part. So he had a good sense of how to use his tools in mainstream stuff.
Yeah, because he does Red Dragon in 2002, which was one of his first. This feels like slightly like a paycheck role.
Yeah,
but he's still good in it.
Yeah.
So like every 2 years he would do one of those. So he does Along Came Polly, which he turns into more than a paycheck. I think it's probably one of his most beloved.
He walks away with the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Mission Impossible 3. And then ironically, the last two movies on his IMDb are Hunger Games movies, which even in the Hunger Games, he jumps out of every scene.
100%. He has the greatest character name of all time in that movie, Plutarch Heavensby, which I fucking love. I've always loved that name. And yeah, it's a much more controlled performance, that last one. And it is exactly what we're talking about, where he's like, I'm sure the money was good for that one. It's a huge franchise. It was like the conclusion of that franchise. And it's a really important part. He's like the game maker. But it's weird that that's how things ended for him. You know, somebody who was in so many great movies, but doing a very similar thing, always playing very rarely at the center. Always just left of center to the leading man.
Yeah. Well, this one, he comes in, he falls down, he's eating wedding cake icing, and just immediately it's the movie I want to be with the whole time. Yeah. And then he just kind of pops in and out. It's like Paul George in a Clippers playoff game.
I believe you.
It's like,
compare
Paul
it to
George
a
just
cat.
hits some yeah, Paul George just jumping in your lap and going
Phil
to the garage.
Hoffman's like a cat in this movie. You know, he's back. He's popped
back.
in the room.
Oh my God. Yeah. The funniest person of the year is back.
Yeah, I love Sandy Lyle.
So we have, I'm really curious why he wanted to do this. And there's been a lot of interviews. The director, John Hamburg, has given a few interviews because one of the things that happened with this movie is the basketball scenes as YouTube hit, they became a YouTube thing. Then it became Instagram, Twitter. Then it became TikTok. It's just whatever social media form, just him firing shots against the backboard and screaming, white chocolate. Just like his bat, it's just gonna live on and on and on now.
I think there's just like something incredibly recognizable about that character of the guy who's just like, I'm a baller for real. My shirt is too tight and I am screaming on the pickup court about how good I am and I suck. I just absolutely suck. So it can be applied to like when, you know, I don't know, James Harden throws up a 2 for 17 right. in a playoff game, you know, exactly. Yeah. So I think it's like applicable all the time. You know, something that I said about Hoffman when I did that pod earlier this year is like, he kind of is like an athlete or like a dancer in movies though. Like if you look at like Talented Mr. Ripley, when he first shows up and he drives up and he hops out of the car and he runs towards the restaurant, like he had a kind of like a grace. He had like a dancer's grace to him. So even in this comic part where he's being a bad athlete, he's kind of mesmerizing to watch.
He's definitely not a bad athlete.
You can see him move. He can run around. Like he played baseball and wrestle, and he wrestled as a kid. Like you can see he knows how to handle himself.
It's Chris Farley-esque.
Very much. He's got like a grace in all of his clumsiness.
I mean, Belushi is the most famous for that. because Belushi was like really good athlete, and they always tried to leverage it into SNL sketches and other stuff he did. But yeah, it's funny how some of the best comic performances or performers, the physicality and the athleticism is such a big piece of that. I mean, Jim Carrey, there's this SNL account that I like where they show the old sketches. They had one where, remember that Night of the Roxbury sketch they used to do with Will Ferrell that they turned into a movie? And they would be at the bar and they'd be like talking to the girls and do like you, and they'd walk up and come back. And Jim Carrey's in it, and he comes out and his head starts doing like,
I remember this.
His head's like going over here and there, and it's just like he was just such an incredible.
Yeah,
I don't even know if that's athleticism.
He was like the Bo Jackson of
really,
physical comedy. You know, it was like he could do anything. There wasn't nothing could stop him.
Because I think that's probably the best SNL ever.
I remember
Jim
that
Carrey
one vividly.
one.
What was it? Was it for like Truman Show or The Majestic? Or I can't remember what year. Maybe Man on the Moon?
Might have been Liar, Liar.
Liar, Liar. Okay.
Somewhere in there. Yeah, he does the lifeguard sketch with Will Ferrell. Because Will Ferrell was big at that point, and then Carrey came in and just blew it away. Anyway, we're getting carried away. But the Hoffman has it. And, you know, I'm glad he did it. Kind of made me wistful that he didn't do more comedy. I consider Scotty J, even though Boogie Nights has some of the most serious moments, but when we did the Boogie Nights pod, we talked about how fucking funny Scotty J was.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes he's really funny in a movie on purpose. Like, he's really funny in Talented Mr. Ripley.
Yeah, he
You
is.
know, How's the Peep In and all that.
Freddie.
Like, he knows what he's doing there. He's really funny and alive and almost famous. He's on fire in Punch Drunk Love as Mattress Man.
Yeah.
You know, with the shut. Like he really, but after like in the 2000s, most of his stuff is quite serious, like Synecdoche, New York and Doubt and these really grave, dire
Doubt's
movies.
hilarious.
Yeah. Haven't revisited that one lately. When are you doing? Are we doing that on
that's
Rock Bottom Month Part 2?
Rock Bottom Month.
Granite Bottom Month.
Well, he's also in Happiness, which I was a runner-up for Rock Bottom.
Kind of a funny movie, though, but like in the
Yeah.
most fucked up way imaginable.
I called the producers of Happiness when we decided on the lineup for Rock Bottom Month, and I'm like, "Sorry, guys, it's not you. This is just the lineup we had. You did nothing wrong.
Sorry, Todd Salons.
Yeah, in another world,
around.
you guys could have made it.
Sorry, Dylan Baker.
Yeah. So this will be Hoffman's 7th rewatchable.
Really?
Yeah. We've done Son of a Woman, Boogie Nights, Talented Mr. Ripley, Magnolia, 25th Hour, Along Came Polly, and Moneyball.
Pretty good.
And what's crazy, you could argue he might end up with 5 more on the roster.
Hold now for the master.
Almost Famous.
Almost Famous. When will that be?
It's probably the last episode.
Okay.
Twister.
100%. We should do it this summer.
Big Lebowski.
You know there's another Twister
I'm aware.
Okay. Big Lebowski. We've done that. You weren't on it.
Did we do it?
Yeah. I think it was
Are you sure we did it?
me, CR, Concepcion, and Shoemaker.
We did it? So he's been in 8 rewatchables. I'm
Sweet.
counting him for Big Lebowski. I know he didn't have a giant part in that.
You forgot about my Patch Adams solo episode.
Patch Adams. My wife and I, we always used to joke about that and call him Patch Adams. Like it's such a bad movie. Mission Impossible 3, did we do that one?
No, we did not do that one. I think we've only done 2 Mission Impossible
The
movies.
Master and Happiness. So 8 puts him near he might be top 10 now for most rewatchables movies.
Denzel, the Toms, Julia. Who else is up there?
Cruise is 15 now.
Yeah.
I was thinking the 10 movie club is kind of our equivalent of the 5 timers club for SNL hosts.
Yeah.
You get to 10 rewatchables movies, you've had a special career.
Think we can get Denzel to come on in here, sit down. We can put the 10 movie medal around his neck.
He would definitely not do that. And
Like
then
in a
he'd
Star Wars.
refuse to talk about, I don't talk about my old movies. Let's talk about the Knicks.
What if we did like the Bone Collector to celebrate him coming in, though?
We just put him in a bed. But back to Slow Burner Month. Why do you think it happens that way? Why do movies that actually did well and made money, but then something shifts and they become a thing?
Well,
in this case, we know is Hoffman. Does it have to be like just a unique thing about the movie? What is it?
I mean, there's so much to talk about with this movie contextually because there were 5 Ben Stiller movies this year, and that's evidence of what kind of a time it was in Hollywood when you know this is Craig's hobby horse. Just like, why do we not have more studio comedies at this time? We were cranking them out. There were so many of them, and it also dovetails with a kind of DVD dorm room culture where I think movies like this really succeeded. It's also doubles as a date movie, so you can watch this with your girlfriend.
Yeah.
It's also the rise of YouTube. So you put all that stuff in a stew. And if you want to just watch Hoffman cook, you can just watch Hoffman. If you want to watch this movie with your girlfriend, you can watch this on the couch at home. If you want to go to see a funny movie on a Friday night, like this is kind of at the top of your list if you're a moviegoer at this time, because it's kind of has something for everyone. So,
and you get to go to St. Bart's. As you know, I like going on locations.
That's true. There's some travel.
Rom-coms.
If you're a fan of Hank Azaria's abs, we've got that. You know, there's some stuff on offer here.
I'll say this. In 2004, I don't feel like it was as big of a deal that Hoffman had this part, was in this movie. And I think it was really fun to have him in it. But I think the legend grew with him year by year. And partly the legend grew because the movies he was in became so rewatchable. You know, everyone was like, this guy's great, right? He was in this guy's great territory, basically from late 90s on.
Yeah.
But I think late 2000s range, it started to go up a level. And then obviously when he died, but when somebody dies, that pushes people's appreciation of the work to a different stratosphere.
Well, I mean, literally the next movie that he makes is Capote, and he wins Best Actor.
Yep.
And so that, I think, pretty significantly alters how we consider him, because he was the kind of guy who, like, hardcore movie fans and, you know, people who really were into acting, and, you know, he's a big Broadway performer too. I saw him in True West years before this,
wow.
I think, with John C. Reilly. Actually, it might have been 2004. I can't remember what year it was when I saw him. It might have been the same year. And he just blew everyone's mind. Like, he blew everyone's mind 10 years later in Death of a Salesman. Like, people who were fans were hardcore fans. But Capote, I think, because he had that long run of Oscar campaigning and then eventually won, consecrated him in a way. And then after that, everything he did was kind of like, what will be the next great Philip Seymour Hoffman performance? And he kind of defied expectations. You know, he kind of reverted back to, I do supporting parts. He didn't do a lot of movies where he was at the center. And if he did, it was usually a very small movie, an independent movie, and not a mainstream studio movie. So I think people came to appreciate Along Came Polly and what he did in it even more so after the fact, because they were like, wow, the guy who played Truman Capote did the Sharding movie. You know, like, that's range.
It'd be like if Daniel Day-Lewis had that part.
Exactly.
Like, DDL.
How many previous Best Actor winners could have played Sandy Lyle? That's a good game. You know, could Frederick March have played Sandy Lyle? I say no.
Yeah, you start getting into like Adrian Brody, Pacino. We start going through
Pacino. I love that.
Pacino as Sandy Lyle.
Raindrop.
The basketball would have been tough for him. Well, you mentioned this weird era. There were too many Ben Stiller movies, and I think that was one of the things that hurt this movie. He was just too omnipresent, always playing Ben Stiller.
Yes. He has a comic persona.
And it's the person in this movie, it's the person There's Something About Mary.
Anxious, uptight guy.
We all like it. Like, he zags with Zoolander. That's really the one. But yeah, the upside, Meet the Parents, same thing. And Aniston is basically the same person in every movie. She just changes her hair. And I think that something about when this movie came out, it was like, really, these two? Like, we were already kind of all getting tired of the two of them as personas, which is why the Hoffman piece is so important. But as the years pass, and neither of them, you know, Stiller didn't make that many more rom-coms. He did like The Heartbreak Kid and maybe like one or two more, and then, you know.
Yeah, you're right. He doesn't do a lot of them. I mean, he went on to do a lot of interesting movies, but he went away from this formula.
He veered away from this. But I think as the years pass, that part is more tolerable than maybe it was in 2004. When you put out 5 movies in a year, that's just a suicide mission. Nobody wants that.
Yeah, it seems like it was kind of luck and circumstance and a variety of things that factored into it. But I mean, he didn't just put out 5 movies in a year. He was he was in 6 movies this year, and he was the star of 4 of them. Like, the star. Along Came Polly, Starsky and Hutch, Envy, Dodgeball, and Meet the Fockers. All in that same year. Plus, he does a little bit part in Anchorman.
Yeah.
And so...
and Starsky and Hutch was a big-ass movie. Todd
Phillips, yeah.
There was real excitement about it, but yeah, it's just, this was the comedy boom.
I think he's a little bit of a, I always say like a black licorice guy, where, you know how like I can't eat black licorice. Like, I put it in my mouth and I'm like, there's something poisonous about this.
I thought it was poisonous. I don't eat black licorice.
Yeah, I really don't like black licorice. And some actors or actresses are like black licorice for people where they take a bite and they're like, ugh. I worked for a guy at a magazine years ago who was just like, we will never feature Ben Stiller in our magazine. I find him incredibly annoying.
Wow.
Which I always thought was really funny because I always liked him. Like I liked his TV show that he had. I like a lot of these movies. I thought he's amazing and There's Something About Mary. His persona always worked for me, but he comes from like a legendary comedy family. He goes on to make like great Tropic Thunder, like really great comedy classics. But I always keep that in the back of my head that for some people, they're just like, he's not for me.
Yeah. There's Something About Mary is 98. He rips off Meet the Parents, Zoolander, Royal Tenenbaums. Along Came Polly, Starsky and Hutch, Anchorman, and Dodgeball in the same year. Meet the Fockers, Heartbreak Kid, Tropic Thunder. That's all in 10 years, plus a bunch of other movies that he did too. There's Something About Mary is hanging over this movie too because that launches the R-rated comedy boom.
Mm-hmm.
There's some DNA from that movie in this movie. Like there's another bathroom scene with Ben Stiller. We're in the bathroom with him with something embarrassing happening, and it's kind of the tail end of the R-rated comedy, and then we start moving into the Apatow version of it. So this is like we're at the tail end of a 1.0 version of this, and then Apatow becomes 2.0.
Yeah, and he always kind of operated alongside those guys, but not totally with them.
Yeah.
Which I always thought was kind of fascinating. His career after this is really interesting. Like he keeps making Night of the Museum movies, and he does some franchise stuff. Does Zoolander 2. He does a few movies with Noah Baumbach. Do you remember the last time he headlined a movie?
Well, he was directing too, right? He did the prison thing that Chris and I loved, Escape from Dannemora.
He did Escape of Dannemora, and he does Severance now. That's what he directs. And Severance, both of those shows are great.
Yeah.
But as a movie star,
he
hasn't really top-lined a movie since 2017. The Meyerowitz Story is the Baumbach movie. So it's been 7 years since he was the star of a movie. That's pretty crazy for somebody who, at one time, I think you could credibly say was one of the 10 leading men in Hollywood.
We made a lot of money. Tropic Thunder was his probably biggest, most ambitious swing. And it was a huge success.
Yeah. Really funny.
And a really cool, original, unique movie. Craig's generation doesn't like it. Craig's triggered by it.
I adore that movie.
I thought you were triggered by Tropic Thunder.
Don't put that on me.
Triggered month?
Triggered month. No, Tropic Thunder is amazing. Aniston's movie career.
Yeah, here we go.
I'd forgotten it wasn't going well until 2003.
Yeah.
She had not made a $100 million movie until 2003, and then it just blows up. She does Bruce Almighty. That makes 485.
Mm-hmm.
Polly makes 178.
That was entirely chalked up to her, too. She was
but
on the poster,
she's at least
front and center.
Hey, listen, man, she's Scottie Pippen in that movie.
Sure, yeah.
Polly, The Breakup, 206. She's Marley and Me, Just Not Into You, The Bounty Hunter, Just Go With It, Horrible Bosses, We're the Millers. So she has a decade of she's a bankable A+ list actress for comic movies, which I was not sure.
It was looking a little dodgy when she was in Rockstar. We were like, I don't know if this is going to happen.
It felt a little Friends might have overtaken her. Like she's just Rachel and people can't accept her. She's good in Office Space.
Very good. Very funny. But that's, again, these are all kind of girlfriend parts, and it takes Along Came Polly for her to get out of the girlfriend parts in a way. She did do a couple of smaller, like The Good Girl. She's really good in The Good Girl, which is like an indie that she was doing, I think, to break out of Rachel.
Yeah.
The thing that is notable about this, I think, is that this movie is the last movie that she made while Friends was still on.
Well, and it was right as Brangelina is in the works.
We're on the way towards Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
So
yeah,
it feels like her career is, Friends is over like this. And then all of a sudden she becomes an even bigger star. And then the movies start hitting and somehow becomes a bigger star than she was in Friends.
Yeah, she picked a couple of really good projects. I think The Breakup was like really smart. To make a movie called The Breakup after Mr. and Mrs. Smith was very smart.
Also a movie we all thought we were going to like, and it was just missing something.
Not a huge fan. But
yeah.
It's
a grim 2 hours.
I've struggled with her a little bit. On Friends, I'm like, this is one of the great characters. Like we were just mesmerized by her in the 90s. We were interested in her every move. As a movie actor, I wish she was always given a little bit more to do. This movie is kind of an interesting mix, though. Like, it obviously is a classic opposites attract setup, and they have chemistry. Like, they work together. So I think the movie really lives and dies on scenes like the stabbing the pillows scene, where you're like, I I feel their connection and I want to hang out with these people because that's what this kind of a movie is.
It's interesting. I'm zagging on you a tiny bit. I didn't totally feel it.
Really?
Yeah, it's like, do you see those two people together, I guess is my question.
Well, that's what Roger Ebert says. He's like, I'm not sure if I buy this.
You're not sure if you buy the two people?
I like them together. I felt like it seemed like they liked each other in real life. Seemed like they had some energy together.
Yeah, they seem like people who would date for a while and then decide they should be best friends.
Yeah. You know what's another weird thing about this that is sort of related is, he goes on to make the Heartbreak Kid remake.
Right.
Which is kind of the same movie.
Yeah.
It's like a movie about a newly married couple that goes on a vacation and then they break up on their honeymoon.
Right.
It's very strange that he did this twice.
And it's with Billions, with
Alan
Axe's wife.
Yeah. She was your favorite actress of the year Billions debuted, right?
Felt bad. Always felt bad criticizing her, but that character just didn't work.
You won't even look me in the eye when you say that, Bill.
I won't. I was looking up. I forgot to do Raj for this. A rare miss for me.
That's okay. I'm helping out.
No, Raj was 2 stars.
Yeah. He didn't love it, but weirdly, well, he notes Hoffman. He's like, I'll tell you what I did like about this movie, Philip Seymour Hoffman. It's like the second to last graph of the review.
Yeah. I did like Philip Seymour Hoffman as Sandy, Ruben's best man. Yeah. He's in on Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Can't find anything else nice to say about it?
Paragraph. Listen, the story of this movie isn't really up Raj's alley. It's
not the best on broad comedy, Raj, over the years.
No.
We talked about this on the Tommy Boy app with Sal. You didn't get it. It's okay. It's okay that you didn't get it. Sometimes you miss. You missed. Although Camp Holly is no Tommy Boy.
Where does your generation stand on Ben Stiller, Craig?
I think all of the most popular Ben Stiller roles in our minds are the character spots that he played. Like when I think of Ben Stiller, I think of Happy Gilmore. Like I like Ben Stiller when he goes weird. I think straight man Ben Stiller, it's fine.
Oh, your fingers hurt?
Yeah, that's like the best role ever.
Happy Gilmore.
You're going to need a warm glass to shut the hell up.
Well, he did the best Cruise impression. His impression of Cruise was the best celebrity impression maybe of that decade.
Yeah, I like weird Stiller better than just like classic straight man Stiller.
Yeah, in Dodgeball, he's really funny.
Yes, he's the best at that.
Yeah.
He does this movie. I don't remember if we've ever talked about it in the Rewatchables, Friends and Neighbors.
Oh, yeah.
With Jason Patrick.
Absolutely. Your guy, Neil LaBute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most fucked up late 90s movies. I don't know what theme month we would be doing it for in the Rewatchables, but it would be like a definite fucked up one.
Yeah, Castration Month.
Yeah. Right, Castration Month. But he's in that, and it felt like I always felt, and I have no evidence of this, that deep down Ben Stiller just wanted to be like a weird indie dramatic actor and, do those kind of movies. And like in an alternate universe, it could have been him instead of Adam Driver in Marriage Story.
Yeah. I mean, look at his big breakthrough as a movie person is directing Reality Bites. I mean, that's really who he is like, and that movie is such an interesting blend of like kind of movie stardom and these very attractive, beautiful people doing cool things, young, cool things, but also has that like odd edginess and a little bit of like a Gen X dissatisfaction with the world. And like, I think him doing the Bound Back movies later in his career, is it kind of a testimony to how he sees the world? Like the Greenberg, Meyerowitz stories, and what's the one in between? While We're Young. Those 3 movies are all like almost him getting movie stardom out of his system.
Greenberg, especially. That was one where you could feel him going for it.
Yes.
Did you like that movie? It's interesting.
I think it's a really good movie about how some people react to Los Angeles. That like some people are just, it's kind of how it can be a black licorice city sometimes for some people.
This movie was written and directed by John Hamburg, who also did I Love You Man in 2009 that I really like.
Should also be a rewatchable.
I met Paul Rudd a couple weeks ago and we were talking about a bunch of stuff and I asked him about I Love You Man. And I was like, what's the reaction of that movie now? And he's like, oh, people like that movie now. But I was like, but it didn't do that well when it came out, right? It's like, it was all right.
Yeah.
Didn't do great. But it was another example of like, sometimes the clusters with comedies, they can just come out at the wrong time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, Slap at the Base, man, that's like burned into my brain. I think a lot of the movies that we're talking about here are like, if you saw it when you were like 11, it stays with you forever.
Yeah.
Like that is the Tommy Boy conversation for me. I just saw it when I was 11. It doesn't matter what happens for the rest of my life. I'll always think that movie is funny.
Yeah.
I think that's an example of a movie that a lot of people saw when they were 11 and are like, I love that movie. I'm holding on to that movie forever.
Because other times, I was thinking about this with the Glenn Powell, Sydney Sweeney movie. That comes out and it was just kind of the right time for a movie like that.
Yep.
And it was marketed perfectly. It's totally watchable. It hits every checkpoint. And now I feel like it's a movie my daughter is probably going to watch 12 times.
It's also bad.
Well, that's the thing. It's not a great movie.
No, it's not.
But it came along at the right time and had the right conceit and had the right stars in it. And now it'll kind of last probably, which is weird because it's not that good.
I'm really hopeful that that movie and The Fall Guy and a couple of other movies that are happening right now are like slowly easing us back into the era when in 2004, like they were just at our fingertips all the time. I feel like audiences being excited about Anyone But You is very exciting. Whether or not that movie's any good, I don't think it's that great.
You did. We're taping this before the weekend. You're doing The Fall Guy for Big Picture.
We did, yeah.
You should have brought me on for 2 minutes.
Okay.
To discuss how important Heather Thomas and Marky Post were in the context of the 80s. Next time, just
I mean, the floor is yours. We can cut it into the episode.
Two hugely important people of the 80s.
At the risk of spoiling anything about The Fall Guy, maybe Heather Thomas makes an appearance.
Oh, that sounds great. I'll be there.
Did you see The Fall Guy?
No. See that in the theater. We're going to take a break. Oh, by the way, $42 million budget made $178 million, which is like, I was actually shocked that the movie made this much.
That's insane.
This is the heyday of comedies.
Yes. I wonder where that stands in the Ben Stiller. I guess he has them.
He has some big ones. Yeah, he's got some big ass ones.
That's a shitload of money though for a movie like this.
It's a lot of money. All right, most rewatchable scene. This movie starts out with a banger. We're at the wedding, and we just get Hoffman right away. Best man's in the house. He does a great pratfall. He does like 5 things in this movie that absolutely, like, I rarely laugh when I watch movies. But when the guy has the wedding icing, the what are those things called?
I don't know.
The squirters.
Yeah,
and he's like, give it to me. And the guy's just squirting wedding icing.
It's an inch. It's a within the first few minutes, you're like, all right, Phil Hoffman's going to do anything he can, no matter how disgusting it is to make us laugh. Yes.
Yeah, you know immediately. You want an autograph? No, I'm good, thanks.
You're the kid from Crocodile Tears.
Yeah. And then we also get to see Ruben doing his wedding risk assessment. It's just a really strong 4 minutes. We get a wedding.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden, here comes Alec Baldwin. He's kind of doing his Departed character.
I'm obsessed with Alec Baldwin.
You want to save this for later?
Sure, in Dursky.
Right.
Yeah, I have a lot of
save
thoughts.
It for later. So we got that scene. We have after, unless you want to count him walking in Deborah Messing getting railed by Hank Azaria on the boat.
I think there is something perversely entertaining about the entire Hank Azaria introduction and like watching Deborah Messing's eyes in those scenes.
Yeah.
Where she's just like, I want to bone this guy like the second he shows up.
At his dick.
I enjoy that.
I like when after, first of all, the scuba things hitting the side of the boat is hilarious. But then when they're on land and her hair is like completely fucked up and she's like, I'm going through something. And she just looks like she'd had like the craziest sex ever.
And this is also at the height of Will and Grace too. You know,
yeah,
she was a big star at the time. Obviously Hank Azaria, a big star from TV.
Yeah, she's good in this. But that scene's fun. I also like when he backs the car backwards, but then the next cut is Hank Azaria driving him to the airport, and he's just holding him angrily. Ruben goes back to work and pees with the Nursky. I have as the next rewatchable scene.
Yep. I will fire this one up on YouTube every once in a while. Yeah.
There's a great fart.
He sidles up right next to him in the ear.
Does like the longest pee. She's a dime store hooker and she always will be.
Yeah, that who or wife of yours. That's just, that guy is Long Island to me. Like that's one of my dad's friends, unfortunately. And
so you think that's what he was going for? A Long Island
Jersey,
accent?
Long Island, East Coast, yeah. Yes.
And then he said, this accent, I had such a good time doing it. I'm just going to bring it to Boston in The Departed.
Yes.
And just not say the R's, but basically do an Ersky.
And both The Departed and Along Came Polly come before 30 Rock. They're right before 30 Rock starts. And you can see he's like, I'm in a new era Like I'm doing only this kind of thing now. I'm only having fun. This little mini pocket of Alec Baldwin is a great time.
Well, it really starts with Outside Providence when he's the kid's dad. He's like, hey, whatever. He has the terrible nicknames for his kids. He's just talking like this. Well, the next scene that's going to be the winner. We go from I just sharted right into the basketball scene. I mean, this is like some of the best 7 minutes of the 2000s.
Hoffman in the elevator saying that he only knows this guy, this artist, and they're going to his gallery because he sold him some good pot in the 90s. And then it's like a cutaway, and it's an overhead shot of him surrounded by 20 artsy looking people and saying, "I'm so horny." It's incredible stuff.
I just sharted, followed by the way he's kind of like walking, like the way his body's moving is also amazing.
Trying to keep it tight and loose at the same time. Yeah, it's incredible.
So I'm combining this with the basketball scene because it's this whole 7 minutes. Let it rain, rain dance.
White chocolate.
Calling the guy Sasquatch.
Then
Ben Stiller asked for the switch. He's like, no, I've figured out this guy's moves. I can't switch.
It's one of the most legendary athlete performances in movie history.
I was thinking about there's this whole subgenre of really fun sporting event scenes in movies happening in like weird New York parks like that. Like Big has the handball scene.
Yeah.
But we have to come up with a list of those at some point.
Gosh.
Maybe for the new YouTube channel. But it would be fun to do all the
top
goofy
5 New York sports scenes.
Well, because it's always like a really terrible like half-court basketball court.
Right.
Or it's like, like this kind of a racquetball court, but people are also playing tennis and...
Right. Not a lot of soccer scenes taking place in New York City.
Scenes.
Yeah.
No, not a lot of soccer.
There's racquetball in this movie, too, with Brian Brown.
Yeah, I'll do this now. I was going to do a what's age the worst. Does racquetball age the worst? Has racquetball been replaced by pickleball?
I'll tell you, I've never played in my whole life.
I played in the 90s a little.
Yeah?
It's a violent sport.
It is.
You really, what wasn't helping me was like going out in Boston and having cigs every once in a while and then trying to play racquetball. You really need lungs.
You were heaving.
Need your lungs. Racquetball.
It always just seemed like a little too intense. Like tennis is fun. Racquetball, I'm like, I don't want to get punched.
Racquetball is a good place to get inadvertently hit with a racket, to blow out your ACL, to sprain an ankle, to hurt your Achilles. Yeah,
I love racquetball.
You do?
I played
there's
it
a lot
college.
that can go wrong.
You played in
you
college?
Did?
Yeah.
Like
no, just
in an organized way? Or?
Our gym had a couple racquetball courts that you could rent out.
It's super fun.
It's so fun. If you play with somebody, it's like ping pong or tennis or like volleyball. There are certain sports where it's like the people playing have to be good, but then if they are, it's amazing. And I feel like if you're playing with the right person with racquetball, it is really, really fun.
Other than basketball, probably the highest percentage of you're about to get into a fist fight with somebody when you're playing racquetball. Because there's all these different ways you can screw each other up. Or
you're literally in like a windowless box.
That's not a good scenario for me.
No,
as you guys know, sometimes I kind of blow my top. So I don't know if that's, especially in sporting circumstances.
It's a violent sport. I like racquetball.
Bring it back. Yeah.
It should come back. I always thought highlight and racquetball. Maybe we should revisit both of those.
Your beloved pickleball may have replaced it, unfortunately.
Pickleball for losers. I mean, honestly. Next rewatchable scene is Sandy eating the greasy pizza. Yeah. Every single moment in the pizza scene,
there's a
way he's preparing it.
The insert shot when he takes the cover off the red pepper and digs his fingers into the red pepper jar.
takes Ben Stiller's pizza slice so he can pour the more grease on his own pizza. Yeah. Oh man! And then that goes right into Ben Stiller's. I guess I should call him Ruben. It's the name of the movie, but the Moroccan dinner date. When he's like, "You're not going to tell her about the irritable bowel syndrome." No, we're going to some place. It didn't sound too ethnic. Al Fariz. And then the next scene is him just eating like fucking gross Moroccan shit.
Have you ever been in a situation like that where you've got a date? You're excited about this person you're going on a date with, and they want to do something that you're like, this is a bad idea for me.
Oh man, hold on. Let me think back.
Go back in the brain bin. Yeah, I don't have a lot of experience.
I can't remember a date where it was like I'm really taking one for the team here. Like, I
Okay.
really need to get laid so badly. I'm doing this.
Because this is really like, this is the big question of the movie is, and this is the thing that I think Ebert bumped on in the movie is Jennifer Aniston appealing enough? And is Ben Stiller's character in as low a moment as he is, like enough to justify going, for example, to this dinner date? There's a different reading that is related to the Philip Seymour Hoffman character, which is that because Stiller's such a fastidious, uptight guy, he's drawn to people who are a mess. And Dursky's a mess. He works
trying
for him.
to change them.
Sandy's a mess. He's disgusting. Polly is all over the place. He's drawn to her. And that's like maybe his inner anxiety reaching out, which I think is kind of maybe an overread of a silly movie like Along Came Polly, but kind of interesting. But also, Ebert was like, this doesn't make sense.
Or it's self-loathing. He's trying to like torture himself.
Could be.
I'm fine with him going on the date, but if you know like you're going to have real problems, and it's especially in New York City, there's no way you're going up. You'd be like, hey, I had a great time. I'm out of here. That's my biggest nitpick of the movie. You're like, oh, cool. Oh, it's a 2-room studio where you've been in those apartments.
I lived in one.
The bathroom's like right on top of that. You can hear every noise in the bathroom.
Yes.
There's just no way he's going up there.
Not ideal. Is this Apex Mountain for IBS?
I was thinking about that. It might be.
Could be up there.
I can't remember a better IBS scene.
There's another character right on the tip of my tongue who had IBS, but yeah, I definitely learned about something like this from movies. This is pretty gross.
The bathroom disaster. I'm not a huge like bathroom humor guy.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, I love.
You love a juvenile sense of humor.
I
but
love juvenile
not
shit.
a gross sense of humor.
And I just feel like every version of a bathroom scene has been done at this point. So even in 2004, this felt a tiny bit tired, but it is funny.
It's pretty funny. What if I was like, Bill, I'm a huge toilet humor guy? Would that just be the
Going way
biggest zag
back.
of all time?
Top 9 toilet scenes.
I think it's okay.
It's fine.
It feels a little, like you said, redundant. To there's something about Mary's scene in the bathroom with the zipper is just legendary material, followed up by the earlobe later on in the movie. Like that is the funniest of the funny. This one is okay. It's just like, oh, you shit in front of a girl.
It's very similar to the Dumb and Dumber one. Just not as good.
It is.
I like that you said the earlobe scene and not the cum shot scene. I like that you went PG instead of R. This is a good edit.
Is this a family program?
Well, not really. The salsa date I have. To just quickly, we get more hoops just thrown in. It's Iceman! I don't know why they haven't put like the 15-minute unedited Hoffman playing basketball cut.
They should air it at MSG during playoff games. I would be fired up.
Yeah, seriously.
Raindrop!
they should.
Every time Brunson drops one, yeah.
Paulie finds the list. Just good drama. We'll get into some of the issues with that later. And then the 2 last big rewatchable scenes. Jesus Christ Superstar. You knew we had to see that one being performed. Goes terribly, but leads to the dad's big speech.
Yeah.
It's not about what happened in the past or what you think might happen in the future. It's about the ride, for Christ's sake. There's no point in going through all this crap if you're not going to enjoy the ride. And you know what? When you least expect something great, something great might come along. Something better than you even planned for. All of a sudden, there's like real wisdom in this movie.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. It's all about the ride.
This is what you said to me right before we started The Ringer. You know, you were like, just think, if you stick it out for 9 years, we can do the top 9 toilet humor movies of all time. Because it's all about the ride.
This is what I said when I was trying to convince you to work for Grantland. I'm like, look, I laid out a couple things that might be issues. And then I was like, but remember, Sean, it's all about the ride.
Yeah, that was definitely what it was like at Grantland. It was the ride for sure.
It was definitely a ride. And then the last one, Sandy handles the big meeting. This movie does something really interesting where it flips. It feels like it's just doing the generic, oh, here's the hero running to go catch the girl before their relationship blows up. And rips off When Harry Met Sally and Billy Crystal running through the thing. We've just seen that scene. You're like, they're going to do this again. But no, we go to Sandy Lyle. It's actually Sandy Lyle's moment. He's finally going to do it. He's going to come together and save the big account with Coughlin from Cocktail.
I love that scene. Hoffman's performance is incredible when he puts his hands on the shoulder of the wrong guy is one of the funniest bits in the movie. And
don't forget about, are you the kid from Crocodile Tears?
In that scene, though, he is directly channeling Ben Affleck in Good Will Hunting.
Yeah.
When he's like, retainer. Like,
Yeah,
it's the same kind of performance.
What do you have for most rewatchable scene?
If you're going to pair up the art gallery sharding and the basketball scene,
it's
that's in like a comedy Mount Rushmore
it's
sequence.
That's about
it's got to be the winner.
best 7 minutes ever.
Yeah.
That would be a good idea for the YouTube channel.
Just run that scene.
Best 7 minutes.
Best 7-minute sequences in movie history.
Best 7 minutes. 7 minutes.
I love to real-time brainstorm with you. This is how we make the content here.
Dirt from the moment he shows up at the pool party and meets Reed. And Reed's like, they start making drinks, you lift. People tell me I look like Han Solo. all the way through to the pool jump. I don't know. Be a good
maybe
good
if we just did 7 minutes Hoffman. So it's just different 7-minute stretches. Like Hoffman listening to the jazz record in the record store in Ripley when he's just like getting down. Love that.
What's age the best? Baldwin's accent. I love all movies with Baldwin accents.
Indersky is a legend.
World needs plenty of bartenders.
Good things. Good things.
It's too bad Baldwin shot somebody and is going to be in a trial for the next 10 years because I loved Alec Baldwin in movies. It's hard to unwind rust from Alec Baldwin now.
Sounds like a Rock Bottom month sequel.
Yeah, it's tough. Craig's generation knows Baldwin as like, oh, he's the guy who shot somebody on the set.
I'm not like 12.
I just like throwing Craig's generation.
That also means that 12-year-olds are reading the Rust news and being like, this is just a tragedy.
One of our greats.
12-year-olds are on the Hollywood Reporter news site.
Baldwin's 30 Rock for me.
Okay, great. When we do Malice, you'll really fully understand Baldwin. And that's definitely a movie you haven't seen.
There's also, I like the reading that the Baldwin character is his character from Glengarry Glen Ross, like all grown up, like wearing the suspenders and he's got the belly, but he's basically like a shark. Yeah. You know, the overgrown shark. I like that.
A Nursky. What's age the best? Semi-underrated New York movie. Remember we were talking about when we were going to New York for the live rewatchables and we were like New York movies and there's both like a ton of New York movies, but then also not a lot of New York movies.
I wouldn't say it's in the Serpico Dog Day Afternoon category.
Not.
Okay.
But has a lot of New York scenes.
It does.
It's definitely a New York movie.
Yeah, it looks like it was shot there.
Yeah.
Well, it was shot there, right?
And they're going to galleries and, you feel like you're in New York.
It's and same with like the restaurants, like that's absolutely the way that you would go out on dates. And especially if you live downtown, like my wife and I, when we were living there, we're going to places like that all the time.
I have a bunch of what's age the best, but do you have any ones before I step on all of them?
I think the Aniston arc looks a lot better than it did at the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think her as a movie star, because I thought about this a lot too before we were talking about it, like, there was a lot of questions as to whether it was going to work after Picture Perfect. Like that movie, it didn't fly. And
I've seen it like 12 times.
I seem to recall you being a big Picture Perfect guy. You know who wrote that movie, right? Aaron Sorkin.
Is that true?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, Aniston's,
say it. Just
well,
say
that
the words.
mid-90s Aniston was,
she was
an
beautiful.
all-timer.
Yeah, she was beautiful.
All-timer.
Her film choices were not great. But now you look back and you're like, even something like We're the Millers, which is similar to this movie, which when it came out, I was like, okay, this is like kind of funny. And then was a massive hit and helped kind of like continue to elevate her status as a comic actress. And now you'll go down her CV and be like, actually, she has like 5 or 7 or 9 movies that I really like.
Horrible Bosses worked when it came out and was a good one for her.
Another good example.
Yeah.
We don't really do those movies too much on the show.
No, but
like 2011 on Comedies.
Yeah. Well, because some of them haven't aged great and then others have aged really nicely like this one. But it kind of comes and goes.
Yeah. But definitely Aniston. Hoffman kind of goes without saying.
And then Craig's generation killed comedy. That's the next thing that happened.
That's right.
That's what Triggered Month will be about.
Yeah. We're just too anxious now for comedy. We're sad about everything.
Craig's was, people were like, I love Neighbors. And Craig's like, they should do Neighbors too, but flip it. And that was it. That was the death of comedy right there.
I made that call.
Craig made it.
What about the sororities?
Somebody asked him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Craig's like, what about the other side of this?
What about a film told through the perspective of the administrators at the university? That would be the more idealistic version.
What's age the best? the concept of the child actor who peaks when he's 10.
Ingenious.
So when I was in high school, we had the kid, I talked about this in the Kramer versus Kramer podcast. The kid from Kramer versus Kramer was in the high school. And it was just like, he was the kid from Kramer versus Kramer. There was, that was his identity. And that's a tough thing to break out of. But
I went to middle school and high school with a child actor as well, who I won't name, but who was in Private Parts and was in Richie Rich.
Oh.
And
I'm sure we can't Google that.
Was a super talented actor and a really nice kid. But I remember when he got cast in Private Parts, I was like, can this happen? Like, is it possible that a child who lives on Long Island could possibly be in a movie? Like, I couldn't wrap my head around the idea of what like all child actors to me were kids on Dawson's Creek, basically. And this movie kind of sums up the like sad but not tragic likely outcome of childhood stardom.
Hamburg said, the director and writer, he said he auditioned for The Champ and didn't get it. And then it always thought about what would have happened if I got it.
He personally auditioned for The Champ.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
What would my life have been like if I had just been the kid from The Champ? And that was
where's
where
that
he
kid
got that
now?
idea. Then that led to Bagpipes Kid from Crocodile Tears.
Really,
what do you
really
think Bagpipes Kid was? What was happening with the bagpipes?
It sounds like he played him. I don't. Beyond that,
it sounds like this memorable, hysterical scene, but I don't know what could have happened.
I have no idea.
And was Crocodile Tears a comedy or a drama?
It'd be great if it was. It was just like consenting adults. Yeah.
Was it like Curly Sue, like what, like a Home Alone type movie, or was it?
I always felt like it was
like a Kramer versus Kramer type.
I thought more of like a Bad News Bears kind of a thing.
What do you think it was, Craig? Crocodile Tears.
Gotta go comedy. It's got to be like a classic, like
a kids comedy.
Yeah,
like a
school
like
of,
The Sandlot, like that kind of movie.
School of Rock or something.
Yeah.
Moore would say it's the best. I love her children novels. The Boy with a Nub for an Arm. It's just high comedy.
So this seemed like ridiculous at the time, but as somebody who has purchased and read many, many books for kids in the last few years, it's kind of where we are right now.
Yeah.
You know, this is not so far afield from what a lot of children's books are like.
And Ruben says, well, it's very graphic for a children's novel. And they cut to the picture, and it's just somebody missing an arm, the arms next to the fireworks. What's age the best? St. Bart's as a movie location.
Great call.
We don't have enough movies where they're just like, we're going to St. Bart's, Hawaii. We're going to the Bahamas.
This is your favorite thing about the Happy Madison productions. You know, this is what Sandler does. And he did it.
He's a genius.
What's the Aniston Sandler movie that your family loves?
Just Go With It?
Just Go With It.
What's the Aniston Sandler movie? Come on.
You know,
it's like, what's that De Niro boxing movie with the Scorsese did? What's that one
that's
called?
Exactly what
What's that called?
Yep, that's a great comp.
Yeah, I've said this before, but during COVID, we just went all locations when my family was watching movies.
That was nice. I like that idea.
Let's go somewhere. Where are we going today? Hawaii.
That was me, but just rewatching the Hackman scenes in The Firm. Just...
The concept of risk master.
Yeah.
I think it's just good. I liked it.
Well,
I like that he's just constantly assessing risk because that's his job. And
yeah, I mean, my wife is an actuary. Like, this is not so far afield from what she does. So I wouldn't say she's quite as anxious as Ruben is in this movie, but it's a type. You got to have a certain skill set to do this work.
We have 29% of the people here are over 70 at this wedding.
Okay, so I'll wait.
Oh, I had that actually as a what's age the best. I know that I have a 0.013% chance of being hit by a car on my way home, or a 1 in 46,000 chance of falling through a subway grate. I think that's true.
I was wondering the same thing. Is that data accurate?
1 in 46,000. That doesn't seem like. I never walk on subway grates.
I know, but we have that iconic image of Marilyn Monroe, you know?
Right. Coughlin's in this movie.
Huge
My
W.
guy.
Huge W. Playing some version of Rupert Murdoch
crossed with Coughlin.
Meets Coughlin. Yeah. Well, I'm speaking of Anyone But You. Coughlin also featured in Anyone But You.
Young Flanagan, my best friend in the world. Fucking love Coughlin.
Should we re-cocktail? We should re-cocktail.
Maybe that's what we should do for the live YouTube Ringer Movies thing.
If we ever launch a channel, that's
a good idea.
Cocktail?
We will re-cocktail. That sounds great.
One of the great
7
movies
minutes,
of all time.
Kelly Lynch.
7 minutes a cocktail? You'd have to go TGI Fridays for the 7 minutes.
Yeah, I think so. The demonstration.
Crowded bar in New York City. Nobody wants a drink. Totally happy to see these two guys work their magic.
Totally.
It was great to see Coughlin, married to Rachel Ward, one of the hottest actresses of all time.
Beautiful. Against all odds.
Another one we'll be doing on the Rewatchables at some point. See
Love
the
Rachel
feed,
Ward.
we might be able to get to 350 movies at this
Fingers
rate.
crossed. It's all up to you, Bill.
Jesus Christ Superstar rehearsals.
This is what's age the best?
What's age the best when the kid goes, I thought I was playing Judas. And he's like, it's Judas. And I'm playing both of them.
I think that's
he's playing Jesus and Judas in the rehearsals.
Yeah, that's Masi Oka, who would be one of the stars of Heroes. Remember, he was a huge star of Heroes. Yeah.
Oh, good call. Sandy Lyle, I just love that guy. Ruben's theory on bar food treats as age their best. I've felt this way for years. I don't go near the giant bowl of anything.
But that you just flipped my what's age the worst, which is bar snacks. Like you don't. I think when you go to bars in LA now.
Yeah, you don't even
They
see
bring
bar
you
snacks.
your individual tray of bar snacks. You can order like Tarali for $11 because they no longer put out. If you go to a dive, obviously they'll have pretzels or whatever. But if you go to like a medium scale bar, it's all individual snacks.
Yeah, they want to protect you, and then you go home and have unprotected sex. That's the irony of that whole thing. Impromptu base jumps always works in a movie.
That's a good one, yeah.
I've never seen a movie where somebody's on top of a building and they might jump and you're like, I'm going to go get some popcorn.
Is that like a shout out to FX, the Brian Brown film or something?
Yeah, it might have been. The fighting off premature ejaculation, which could be another series for a Rewatchables month. But
less
when
than 7 minutes.
Counting down and he's like, 55, 54, 50!
I love the scene later in that movie where Jennifer Aniston's talking to Misty Pyle and she's like, is it normal for a guy to just scream 50 as he orgasms? And she's like, yeah, it is.
Like she has experience. And then the only other one, it just makes me laugh when he finds out, when he decides to confront Javier, the salsa guy in the thing. And he's like, everything okay, Ruben? And he's like, no, actually, me no, not este, too good, Javier. I think when people mix English and Spanish in comedies, it always makes me laugh. So
Ben Stiller's whole comic persona is I'm the dipshit. Yeah. So it works in this situation.
Den at Thieves, Benihana Award, scene stealing location, St. Bart's. This just looked great. Where would you go?
If there's any other locations.
You go grimy New York?
I mean, that Indian restaurant is very recognizable to me. Yeah. I'm sure I had a dinner there with my mom at some point.
The Kid Cudi Pursuit of Happiness Award for Best Needle Drop. They just dropped Lost Cause by Beck, which
plays well.
Is a song that I always forget how much I like it. And it makes me just think like I just should have spent more time with that song.
That's a great one. It's in that typical moment that comes in every movie like this where there's
RomCom.
28 minutes left.
Something bad
and
has
you're
happened.
Like, oh, they broke up. It's never going to work out.
Or he screwed up.
Yeah.
Or it's like 24 minutes left.
Yeah.
Somewhere between 28 and 24 minutes left.
There's a bunch of like very memorable needle drops though. Like there's a Black Eyed Peas song in this movie playing in the gallery.
There's some salsa.
There's a Let's Do It Again by the Staple Singers. That's a great one in this movie. Some good music.
Big Kahuna Burger, where best use of food and drink has to be the Moroccan dinner with the stick your hands. It looks disgusting.
Not the pizza?
Oh, it should be the pizza. You're right. Pizza grease wins. You're right. Good call. Great Shot Gordo Award, most cinematic shot. We don't have Sierra. Sierra's not in this country. Sierra would have been here.
Yeah, we miss him. Come back, Chris. You think he's going to stay?
You know, I have been planning if he doesn't come back. Yeah, we'll make it work. It's like when, the Pats, Tom Brady went down, we threw Castle and we were fine.
If he tells us he's not coming back, next episode is Pulp Fiction. Just putting that out there.
Yeah, what movie could we do if he doesn't come back that would hurt his feelings the most?
Gosh, I'm trying to think of what's the most Philly movie imaginable. I mean, it'd be Rocky, but I don't think he cares about that one.
No, I also don't know how much Chris likes Philly. Just dubious of that.
But that's tricky territory.
Who leaves during the NBA playoffs when you have a 30-year-old former MVP center and you never know what you're getting every year? And Chris is like, I'll see you guys later. I'm going to Europe.
You got to ask CR that one. Yeah, what if we just four heat?
Which one?
Four heat? For Heat, me, you, De Niro, and Pacino.
I want to do Heat with Burt Reynolds. I just think we have to bang that out. I've been thinking about that because it's been on, and I'm like, it'd be amazing to do Heat.
You
and
mean
then
the
people
80s
listen.
Burt Reynolds movie called Heat?
1986 Burt Reynolds, where he actually punched out the director and got sued.
I thought you
That's
meant
a half hour.
record the movie Heat with Burt Reynolds as a guest.
No.
Well, that would be
Burt
good
Reynolds
too
is
when
dead.
he's dead. Yeah.
No, he filmed a movie called Heat in 86, and he punched the director who then sued him. And it put Burt's career in shambles.
It was already on the wane at that time.
Yeah, it wasn't going
But he's
great.
also, it's a movie set in Vegas and he's wearing a sharkskin suit the whole time.
Yeah.
Incredible content.
Yeah. And then he did Malone, which is, I think, worse. I can't remember.
Yeah.
One of them's worse than
Malone,
the
he's
other, but
like
they're
an
both bad.
assassin or like
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he goes to a small town.
That's right.
It's one of those movies.
That's right.
And
Yeah,
it's the girl from Youngblood.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Great shot Gordo Award. We don't have CR, but
I think it's the overhead shot when Hoffman says, "I'm so horny."
So I was going to say the Sasquatch slow-mo on Stiller hitting the guy's stomach with the sweat.
No, you're right. That has
to be it, right?
No, you're right.
And then it keeps going and it's got the
Stiller is doing the work in that
and
scene.
he's spitting the guy's
buy
sweat
it.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. The Butch's Girlfriend Award for weak link of the film. What do you have for this?
I
have one. If you don't have one,
is there somebody who's not up to snuff in this movie?
no. The weak link is the risk assessment list. Paulie versus Lisa is just directly ripped off from season 2 Friends when Ross is dating the girl he brought back from China or whatever.
Right. He
Can't
makes the
remember
list,
her name.
the pros and cons. Yeah.
And Chandler and Joey are like, you got to make a list and figure out. He makes the list. And of course, Rachel finds the list and it becomes one of the most traumatic moments in the history of NBC. It's the same idea.
Yeah.
With Jennifer Aniston finding the list. And I always thought that was super weird that they did that.
Question for John Hamburg, I think.
Yeah.
That's a tricky one. And only like 4 or 5 years after that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's tough.
What's age the worst? I mean, Eat True Hollywood Story, they don't have that anymore, right? So that's age the worst in a weird way, just because they don't exist. You could also say it's age the best because I used to really enjoy it.
It's a great time capsule. Also, the joke is so magnificent when he reveals that he hired those guys himself to shoot his own.
I'm all in on the joke. I'm
Yeah.
just saying the concept of that show. What is Eat True Hollywood Story now? Now it's just like
Craig, what do
Instagram.
12-year-olds know about Each True Hollywood Story?
We're too busy. We don't watch comedies. We don't watch documentaries.
Too busy being sad?
Yeah, we're on TikTok.
What's age the worst? Ben Stiller running.
You don't believe
On
it.
a scale of 1 to Cruise, I have him at 3.5.
That's good.
Thanks.
How about Hoffman's running? When he's kind of circling the
Hoffman's
perimeter,
amazing.
looking for the open
Yeah,
shot.
I loved Hoffman. We mentioned bar snacks. So, this story bummed me out. This was in one of the Hamburg's done some interviews about this movie, and he said several years later, after an NYU alumni screening of the movie, Hamburg remembers walking home with Hoffman through Greenwich Village. As they talked, Hoffman recalled being initially frustrated by fans recognizing him on the street and shouting, "Let it rain." By then, he'd won an Oscar and he'd worked with prestigious directors. Blah, blah, blah. Why was he still being recognized as the sharding, brick-throwing Sandy Lyle? I think he wrestled with that for a little while, Hamburg says. I didn't like that Phil Hoffman was upset that he was in this movie.
Oh, famously complicated guy and a little bit tortured. I think he was liked doing stuff like this, but then also didn't like dealing with the ramifications of being in the public eye very often. Tortured artist in a lot of ways.
He's just walking to get a pizza and somebody's like, "White chocolate!"
That's the other thing is that he's a New York guy. He's
Yeah.
from the state of New York. He also is very believable in a New York movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're a famous person in New York and you want to spend time on the streets, sometimes people are going to talk about how you sharded in a movie, These are the breaks.
Ruffalo, Hannah, Rubinek, Partridge, overacting word. Ben Stiller's salsa dance, he's dialed it up way too high in that one.
Not a huge fan of that.
Yeah, I don't like that scene that much. Was there a better title for this movie? Hamburg said initially they were going to call it Sorry About Your Wife. Because remember, he comes back from the honeymoon and it's like, sorry about your wife. and that was the title, and they decided it was a little too much of a bummer.
I think that would have been less commercial, but more accurate.
Sorry About Your Wife.
Yeah. I feel like Along Came
like
Polly
that
is
title?
kind of a weird, sweet title for a movie that isn't that sweet.
I agree. It's also confusing with something about Mary, Along Came Polly.
But it feels like that's what they're going for, right? They're almost trying to draw you into
I
this.
think I
as an
like Sorry
unofficial-
About Your Wife.
It's good.
Yeah, it's
It's
good.
good. It feels more like, there's an aspect of this movie that is very much like a kind of like a 70s comedy with George Siegel or something.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
could see it feels very similar to that kind of a thing. And Along Came Polly is not what that movie, one of those movies would have been called.
The CR thinks Luke Wilson could have been Harrison Ford, Hottest Take Award. I think there's like 4 other people from this decade I would have rather wanted in this movie than Ben Stiller. And I like Ben Stiller. I just feel like he played this character one too many times. This to me, and it's too early for him.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Paul Rudd movie, but he's not Paul Rudd yet. It's like in 2009.
He's too handsome.
Paul Rudd?
You wouldn't believe Deborah Messing cheating on him in the way that you would believe Stiller getting cheated on.
Is Paul Rudd that handsome?
I think so. Is he not?
I never thought about Paul Rudd as like a Casanova.
I think that is the hottest take right there.
Wow,
Do
that's-
you?
I think he's
Is
a
he a
good-looking
10?
guy.
He's a 10?
Wait,
Paul
well,
Rudd?
I don't know if I'm qualified to weigh in on whether he's a 10 or not, but I think he's considered a handsome man.
Like-
He plays the prince in Romeo and Juliet.
But I think the point is that guy, Hank Azaria, is packing heat to the point that nobody has a chance.
You think it was just completely dick related? Her lust.
I do.
Wow.
She stared at it for 3 minutes.
Like, is Paul Rudd in the same category to you as like Patrick Dempsey?
No.
He's
Paul
not.
Rudd is,
He's not.
he's on like the Jason Bateman level, which was the other guy I was thinking
yeah,
for this.
Bateman.
Could this have been a Jason Bateman movie?
Bateman, I would believe. Rudd is not, anxiety is not the foremost trait that you get from Rudd.
Yeah,
Whereas
he's
with
pretty.
Bateman and
he's chill.
Stiller, he's chill.
But here's where I landed for who this should have been.
Okay.
Mike Myers.
Yeah. He could have pulled this off.
This is the So I Married an Ex-Murderer, Mike Myers. I like this version of Mike Myers, and he didn't make enough of these movies, and Ben Stiller made too many.
Mike Myers only made one.
You're right.
He just made So I
And
Married an
Ben Stiller
Ex-Murderer.
made 7.
Yeah,
so
and
we
he-
could have just flipped that
It's true.
seesaw.
I do
and-
think Mike Myers could have been aided by not trying to be Peter Sellers all the time.
Yeah.
It would have been nice.
Do you have a hottest take in honor of CR
I-
moving to Europe?
Deborah Messing is a super weird celebrity now, but in this movie, I was like, yeah.
She
Maybe
was great.
Deborah Messing over Jennifer Aniston? Is that crazy? Obviously, she cheated on him. That's not ideal, but she's pretty appealing in same parts.
Bitchy Deborah Messing is the most I've ever liked Deborah Messing.
Pretty hot.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I liked everything about I liked her in the wedding scenes.
Yeah.
I liked when she came back. Yeah, that's an interesting one where could they have just flipped her and Aniston in this movie? What's the movie?
I don't think you can quite do. It would be more believable that Aniston would leave Stiller because she'd be like, "I'm above you on the food
Yeah.
chain," you know.
I'm glad you brought that up. I really liked Messing in this movie. Casting what ifs, couldn't find any. Best that guy award, Missy Pyle. How many people know she's Missy Pyle?
I don't know, but this is exactly what she does well. 2 scenes, the best friend gets at least 2 funny lines in the movie.
Did you know her name was Missy Pyle?
No,
Yeah,
but I
she-
immediately recognized her.
She wins Best That Guy.
There,
I actually didn't know her name until I was doing the IMDb research on it.
this movie has a bunch of people who were that guys at the time,
Right?
who emerged. There's one Kevin Hart scene.
Yeah.
There's one Cheryl Hines scene. There's one other Judah Friedlander who would be
Yeah.
in 30 Rock. There's like a handful of people here like, oh yeah, wow. Why is Cheryl Hines just playing the angry catering manager?
Yeah, it was like a scene got cut. Kevin Hart looks so young in this movie. He looks
Yeah.
like Kevin Hart's son playing the cameraman.
Yeah. And this is before 40-Year-Old Virgin, right?
Yeah.
When he has the incredible scene in Best Buy.
Really tough Dion Waiters award, which I think speaks to the
Competitive.
quality of this movie.
Yeah.
Because we have Hank Azaria.
Mhm.
The accent worked for you 100%?
I think it's funny.
I think it worked.
I think it's funny.
Baldwin, accent definitely worked.
Lubin.
Brian Brown.
Yep.
Roxanne the waitress we just mentioned. And then I want to make a case for Ruben's mom, who's in like 2 scenes. She used to be Michelle Lee. She used to be on Dallas.
She 7 minutes played 8 of 9 from 3.
I'm going to ask this nice Native American man to get us a table. Can we get table? That seems unbelievable. I think she wins.
Well, on the one hand, it's like a great joke because it's about like an older generation entering like a PC world and trying to be thoughtful, but not having the tools to do it. On the other hand, didn't this woman like live in New York her whole life? Like, what? How could she not understand?
So funny. I think she wins.
She's pretty funny.
It's either her or Baldwin. I mean, the Baldwin probably. Most people would say, "Oh, Hank Azaria has to win," but I don't know. Baldwin's good.
What does
There's
he
a lot
say?
of good.
I knew she was a dime store hooker from the moment I met her.
Yeah. Want to give it to Baldwin? Let's give it to Baldwin.
I love Baldwin in this movie. Stan and Dursky.
Recasting couch or direct or city. So I'm just going to give you some names for the Jennifer Aniston part.
Okay.
Just for a thought experiment.
Okay.
Gwyneth Paltrow. 2004 Gwyneth Paltrow.
Didn't she do Shallow Hal in 2004?
Would you rather she did this?
Yes, definitively. Yes. Again, Gwyneth Paltrow has an unrelatable quality that I think would have made this a little bit of a harder part for her.
Okay.
Like, I think Jennifer Aniston's good at being a girl who's like, yeah, I move around a lot and I can't really commit to things and I'm a little all over the place. Whereas Gwyneth Paltrow is like a perfectly manicured human being.
This is really a 1992 Meg Ryan part. It's Meg Ryan. I'm
Big
not
time.
Sleepless in Seattle, Meg Ryan. I'm going to get a little goofy.
Yes,
My
I'm
hair's going to be a little
flighty.
weird. I'm
Yes.
going to be flighty.
Totally.
And that's Meg Ryan was a 101. So it's a hard one to fill those shoes.
I like
but
that
I'll
one.
give you a couple more.
Okay.
Winona Ryder. I think she was having some issues at this point, but there's the Reality Bites 10 years later.
Mm-hmm.
I could see her. She's a little older, a little flightier.
Yep.
Maybe some bad decisions and some miles on the odometer that you could see in the character. I thought she could have worked.
You know who I thought about was like a mid-90s Gina Davis a little bit too.
Oh.
You know, like because she played, Accidental Tourist.
Like a quick change.
Yeah, exactly. That era.
Katie Holmes, no. But I always wanted to see
young.
Katie Holmes in a movie like this before she got cruised.
She never really recaptured why guys like me were infatuated with Joey, from Dawson's.
Never did it.
She never really like hit that in the
Because she never had a movie like this.
Yeah. Why not? Why was she not a romantic comedy star? I guess she did do a few romantic comedies, but nothing that ever worked.
Maybe the auditions didn't work. I liked her in Go. Thought she was good.
Great in Go.
Go's another one. See, we make it to
when are we doing
60 movies.
Doug Liman, Limania.
2 more choices. Our girl Heather Graham. I think she could have done it.
She's extremely hot.
I know.
Like in a way that it is like almost weird.
Overpowers
with Ben
the movie.
Stiller. Yeah.
Okay.
She's Felicity Shagwell at this time. She's not.
All right. Well, I'm going to give you the winner. Michelle Williams.
It's
coming out of Dawson Creek. She plays older. She's a year away from being
really
Brokeback
had Dawson's
Mountain
on
Wave.
the brain.
I always want to see Michelle Williams in a movie like this. Why does she always have to be in movies where the most traumatic things possible are happening to her?
It's a great take. I don't know.
It's like, oh, my husband's going fishing again with Jack Twist. Great.
Yeah.
You're going to be gone for 2 days again, huh?
Yeah. What about?
Let's have her in a happy movie where she's eating Moroccan food and, hanging out with Phil Hoffman.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus?
Too old at this point, 04?
It's 7 years after Seinfeld, 6 years after Seinfeld. What about?
That's not a bad one.
Well, what if we just did a friend swap and it was Courtney Cox?
No.
No, just a no.
I don't think it.
Okay.
I actually think Lisa Kudrow would have been more realistic, but she's probably too old.
Talk about who never really made it happen in the movies.
Yeah,
tough.
it's not. But
Very
this brings
talented.
my point. The Meg Ryan part is really hard. Tony Romo or Chris Collinsworth, the director's commentary. I was actually thinking this is a good Collinsworth one.
Oh, Al. He got the loofah out, Al. He's trying to clean that toilet.
Look at this. I love bathroom humor, Al. I was thinking of doing the basketball scene too. Oh, Al, he's making it rain, Al.
Look at that Sasquatch, Al.
That guy's so hairy, Al.
I do think Romo could do he's reaching for the cloth, Jim. Jim, he flushed the cloth.
I was thinking of them of the boat.
Oh,
he's gonna go on the boat, Jim. He's not gonna like what he's gonna see, Jim.
Oh, they got their flippers on, Jim.
Huge cock on Hank Azaria, Jim. Sounds like a tripod.
Deborah's loving it, Jim.
Half-assed internet research. The ferret did bite Ben Stiller a couple times during production.
Oh. What do you think about the one moment when he was like, should I wipe with the ferret?
It did make my wife go, no, he's not going to use the ferret.
That was good. Yeah. I like that.
The building that Leland Van Loo, which we should have been What Stage the Best, the name Leland Van Loo.
Yeah. That was our original choice if I had a son. We would have gone Leland Van Loo.
Leland
Fennessey,
Van Loo Fennessey. I like it. That was the AT&T Tower, which is 611 West 6th Street.
Oh.
Not that far from the Spotify office.
That was down here.
Yeah.
So maybe the movie wasn't filmed in New York. Maybe I've got that wrong.
No, I think they just filmed that here.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just going to read, because again, Hamburg for some reason gave a bunch of different interviews about this movie, but this is him talking about the boardroom scene.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I had rewritten it the night before, and Hoffman had come from more of a theater background and dramas where you don't change the script, whereas I came from comedy where you're constantly writing, so it was my fault. He's basically saying Hoffman couldn't get the thing.
Okay.
Couldn't figure out his character for the boardroom scene. We broke for lunch. Alec Baldwin sat with him and did some sort of magic trick. He talked to him actor to actor, something I couldn't do. And Phil came back after lunch, and it's the entire performance you see in the movie. I was just like, oh, I'm watching one of the great actors of our generation do this monologue. It was just magic. He was so relieved, and I was so relieved, and so appreciative of Alec for looking out for a fellow actor. Alec Baldwin. I'm still in. I'm buying everybody's Alec Baldwin stock. I'm in. Give me your stock.
Yeah. Can you trade stocks when you're in prison? I don't know.
I'm still in. I'm not saying it's an expensive stock.
Yeah.
The sweaty guy in the basketball scene, they had to lather his chest with a glycerin solution that looked like sweat. And then they had him jumping into a trampoline and landing in a Stiller's face so it could smack against it. And they did 12 takes.
Never say Ben Stiller doesn't want it.
He really wants it.
He wants it. He wants it.
Apex Mountain. Ben Stiller, no.
No.
Aniston.
What is Ben Stiller's Apex Mountain?
I mean, it's got to be Meet the Parents.
Wow. Yeah. Are
Because
you
it's
on Meet
coming
the
off.
Parents?
Yeah, it's on the list.
Didn't Hamburg co-write that? I think he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He worked with Stiller a bunch.
Yeah.
That's how he ended
wrote
up
a lot
on
of those
this,
movies.
but,
Not Zoolander?
I don't think so. No, it's Meet the Parents because it's coming off of There's Something About Mary, then Meet the Parents. Then he can do whatever he wants.
Okay.
After. Aniston, no. Hoffman, no, but I think we're getting close. Capote to Mission Impossible 3.
Yep. Agree.
Spanking, no. Deborah Messing, probably yes.
What year did Will and Grace start?
It's in the 2000s.
Remember when like 29 million people watched Will and Grace?
I wasn't
it like
one
an
of them. I
obscene
never
number?
watched one moment of it. I still don't know what the plot was.
You don't know what the plot was?
Was she Will or Grace?
She was Grace.
I'm kidding. I know she was Grace.
So that show ran from
It's like 98 or something.
98 through 2006.
Wow. I missed every episode. Komodo Dragons, Apex Mountain.
No.
Ben Stiller bathroom mishaps in a movie.
No.
White Chocolate. Is it Jason Williams?
No, it's Jay Will. It's got to be.
White Chocolate was a problem.
Yeah, he was a problem.
He was.
He really
White
was a
Chocolate
problem.
was really literally
What
a
about,
problem.
where did he go after Sacramento when he was like, the Heat? It was like, he's playing the game the right way
Memphis.
now. Yeah.
He went Memphis then Miami.
then Miami, yeah.
Throw pillows, possible Apex Mountain.
I
I hate throw pillows. Big passion of my mom.
She loves a throw pillow.
Loves throw pillows and wine.
How many pillows are on your bed right now?
On my bed?
Yeah.
Less than 10.
I'll tell you right now, it's 6 on mine.
6.
We've got a king-size bed.
Yeah.
2, 2, 2.
Throw
I think
pillows.
that's the math. No throw pillows. They're like the
Just
big
pillows.
pillows, the like heavy pillow, and then
Yeah.
a regular pillow. Big pillow, regular pillow. Big pillow, regular pillow. That's the math. You don't need more than that. You probably don't need that many. 6 is good.
My mom is giant pillow, throw pillow, the mini throw. When
No.
people do the mini throw pillows, you're just a sociopath.
No,
at
you
that
should
point.
be jailed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
IBS, possible.
Apex,
Possible
just
for
for
a movie.
all living
IBS
humans
in
or
a
for a
movie.
movie? In a movie.
Yeah, possible. It was early stage IBS. Jimmy Kimmel was the first person I'd ever met who had IBS.
Wow.
I've heard him talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
Did work with him when he was in the bathroom, working on his monologue in the toilet for a half hour, talking to him through the door. So that was my first IBS experience. He's talked about it. I'm not telling secrets.
Yeah, it's great.
Salsa.
That was me not commenting on Jimmy Kimmel's IBS.
Good non-comment. Salsa. There's probably been better salsa moments. There's probably been better moments with the ferret.
Salsa is like, I don't know, like Save the Last Dance or Dirty Dancing or something like that.
Hippo monologues, probably yes. I don't remember.
You think this is the number one hippo monologue of all time?
Monologue, yeah.
You must be like the hippo.
Hippo. All right, it's time. Wow. Cruise or Hanks? This is the best category in the podcast now. This is the toughest one we've had. Each one I've had a lean. I think you can make a case for both. I think Hanks absolutely could have played this, but I think Cruise trying to play Ruben. The answer always seems to be it's so much funnier if Cruise plays blank.
That's it. Because Hanks could have made this movie in 1995. He could have been Ruben in 1995.
I think the answer is Hanks.
But
why would Tom Cruise be Ruben?
Tom Cruise as Ruben is iconic.
He would just never have done it. He never wants to be the loser in a movie. He wouldn't have done it. Hanks would have happily done it.
Maybe that's what's been missing from Cruise's last decade is John Hamburg, the comic stylings of John Hamburg.
What do you think, Craig?
Well, we have to decide what this category is. Is it
Cruise or Hanks?
But is it
the movie better with
never
Cruise or Hanks?
better movie or funnier movie?
Better movie.
Better movie? Well, what is better?
It's Tom Hanks.
If it's Hanks, Hanks is the answer.
Like, does better mean more believable?
Because if the answer is funnier movie to us, Cruise wins every single movie. It's always going to be funnier with Cruise, but better movie is a different one.
But that's the decider in the great argument of this show, that every movie,
but that's a different
is
argument.
more enjoyable with Tom Cruise.
But Cruise couldn't have been in like Saving Private Ryan.
He absolutely could have.
He just wouldn't have been as good as Tom Hanks.
Maybe so, but he could have been in it. And there are so many Tom Cruise movies that Tom Hanks could never do.
Hanks wins this one. We're tied at 4. Okay. Hanks is pulled back to even.
I felt my thumb on the thumb was on the scale there.
I think it's 4-3 Cruise.
You sure?
I think so. I'll double check. I think it's 4-3.
Craig, have you noticed Bill keeps doing Tom Cruise movies on the Rewatchables without me?
Yeah.
What's going on? What do you think is going on there?
We talk about this behind the scenes.
What do you think's happening there?
You can be in the next one.
Because Bill feels compelled to do Cruise movies because they're so special.
We've done 15.
I know. They're great. There's the 20 more.
Racehorse, rock band, wrestler, or fantasy team name. Crocodile Tears. Works for all of them. Crocodile Tears. Good fantasy football name. Could see Heifetz calling his team Crocodile Tears.
I'll let him know.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
What about Al Hafez?
It's not an ethnic place. It's called Al Hafez. Picking nits. I mean, nobody lets their wife go scuba diving with a French guy with a giant crank who lifts her up and brings her into the boat to start off the scuba diving.
Do you wear those
the
Speedos when you go to St. Bart's? What kind of
not only do I not wear the Speedos,
Okay.
to me, it's a character test.
Oh, wow. You meet a man wearing a leopard print Speedo, you're out.
Out. That's such a weird move. Who does that?
Well, it's very French.
It's weird.
Okay. All right. So should I throw away all my Speedos?
Would CR do it?
He's probably wearing one right now. He's in Europe, right? He's probably on the beaches of Greece.
Speedo.
Yeah, they're luxuriating in a cheetah print Speedo.
I could see Van Lathan wearing one.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
with a cowboy hat.
With a cowboy hat. Yeah,
absolutely.
Totally. We mentioned no way Ruben goes up to her place on first date with diarrhea in the works. Nitpick. The poop date's going to be it for them. She's not calling again after the poop date.
I mean, after watching him sweat his way through that meal, she'd be like, nice seeing you again. Farewell. They would not be going back to her apartment after that. He's disgusting.
Yeah. It's a deal breaker. I have one more giant pick and Nick, but do you have any?
I think the whole premise it's not, they would never, I know opposites attract, but the whole thing would just collapse in on itself the whole time. Yeah. The whole time I was watching the movie, I was like,
they're not any.
Why is she into this?
Yeah.
What is the
case?
Like
this guy?
And there's even that scene where she's talking to Missy Pyle about it. And she's like, this feels like a sympathy thing. And she's like, no, I like him. And you don't really buy it.
Agree. Here's my biggest pick and nit. There's no fucking Knicks game in this movie. You have Ben Stiller and you have Philip Seymour Hoffman, two of the most famous Knicks fans.
Huge Knicks fans.
Ben Stiller's been at all these games. If Philip Seymour Hoffman was alive, God rest his soul, he would have been at every one of these games.
Yep.
They couldn't have worked like Sandy and Ruben at a Knicks game talking about Pauly. What the fuck? We could have gotten, think of who we could have gotten in the 2003 Knicks.
Yeah.
What a mess that would have been.
Yeah, that would have been difficult.
Who was on the 2003 Knicks? I'm going to look this up. But we could have had this awesome 2003 Knicks scene with the likes of...
That's right before Marbury, right?
So they would have had to film it, fall of 2003? So that would have been... We had 3 coaches that year, Sean. You had Don Chaney, Herb Williams, and Lenny Wilkins. Yeah. Oh, you had Vin Baker, Howard Isley. Allen Houston was still on the team.
The Allen Houston contract was still
Tim
on the
Thomas.
team. Yeah.
Kurt Thomas.
Penny Hardaway is, I guess.
Keith Van Horn was on that team. Antonio McDyess. Jesus.
Steph got traded.
Steph got traded during that season.
In 03 to 04.
Yeah. I don't know what they were doing. The biggest miss, just the all-time layup. And we had basketball earlier in the movie. Put Philip Seymour Hoffman. What jersey is he wearing in that scene?
Oakley. No, Anthony Mason.
Yeah.
Anthony Mason.
No question.
Yeah.
Good call.
Can I add one small picking nit?
Yeah.
So Jennifer Aniston's character is a waitress. It doesn't appear she has a ton of money. She bought a $200 loofah.
I think that's a character note that the reason that she's a waitress is because she does dumb shit like buying $200 loofahs.
Okay.
See, this is how I can tell Craig never waited or bartendered.
I was a host at a Mexican restaurant in high school.
When you're getting that money, it becomes like Monopoly, where you have like 3 good nights in a row. That was when I bought
paid in cash.
That was when I bought my giant TV. I'm like, oh my God, I made $600 this week, and all of a sudden I was at
any job where you get paid in cash.
Yeah,
you think you're richer
it's like
than you
drug
are.
money.
Yeah.
I didn't even know there were $200 loofahs available that were being made.
I'm not sure that there were necessarily.
It's like having it's like being in a fantasy draft where you just have money. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna get Marvin Harrison Jr. for 48.
That's me paying $26 for Malachi Corley in September. That's definitely going to happen.
Did you do that?
I probably will.
Oh, this September.
Yeah, I'm going to be like, this guy's going to be Aaron Rodgers' #1 target. I also just want to say Malachi Corley as often as I can.
Is he really going to start for the Jets?
I think he's going to play out of the slot.
Wow.
Would you rather have Alan Lazard in the slot? I don't think so.
I would not. Sequel, prequel, prestige TV, all black cast, or untouchable. All black cast is kind of a fun premise for this. This is one that I feel like they could have remade.
Okay, so who is it?
Kevin Hart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who is it?
I
2004 or 2024?
Yeah, 2004. It's Taye Diggs. Taye Diggs plays Hank Azaria.
Let's just pick anybody from
Nia Long.
Oh, yeah, Taye Diggs. Yeah, Nia Long.
It's Nia Long and Vivica A. Fox. And Vivica A. Fox is Deborah Messing. Nia Long is Jennifer Aniston. Gosh, who else is in this movie? Who's like Cedric the Entertainer is Sandy Lyle. Who else?
This movie sounds great.
Could be a funny movie.
Yeah, that's
who plays the parents? It's like Ozzie Davis is the dad, and he gets the one speech, and he's got gravitas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this would be a good movie.
Like David Allen Greer's here somewhere.
Absolutely.
He's
in
Alpha.
Dursky.
Yeah, he's in
exactly.
Dursky. Yeah.
Great, we did it.
Is this movie better with Wayne Jenkins, Danny Trejo, Sam Jackson, J.T. Walsh, Byron Mayo, Harley Mays, Evil Laughing, Ramon Raymond, or Philip Baker Hall? I actually have Ramon Raymond for this one as in the salsa scene. He just comes in and is like, what are you doing, Ruben? And starts a
He's Javier?
Fight.
Yeah, okay. That's good.
Huge
That's pretty good.
fight.
I couldn't even possibly fathom trying to do Bernthal, so I won't.
Just one Oscar, who gets it? Clearly Hoffman. Here's your best supporting actors for that year, just for the hell of it.
Okay.
Morgan Freeman wins for $1 Million Baby, a movie that should be shot into the sun and eviscerated and burned.
Okay. It's a very reasonable opinion.
Even for Rock Bottom Month, we were like, fuck off.
Who's we?
Me, the committee. Alan Alda for The Aviator? It's a weird one.
Literally don't remember what his part was. I like The Aviator, but I don't
So that spot's open.
Yeah.
Thomas Hayden Church in Sideways, great.
Great one.
Jamie Foxx in Collateral. I'm fine with it.
Pretty good. Why wasn't Cruise nominated there? Is Cruise the star? Isn't Jamie Foxx the star of Collateral?
I mean, Jamie Foxx was the star of Collateral. He's
nominated for Best
pretty
Supporting
much
Actor?
every scene. Yeah, the Oscars.
That's weird.
Weird. Clive Owen for Closer.
Yo, homie, is that my briefcase? Cruz, the man.
Clive Owen in Closer is Larry Gray. Pretty sure we could redo that one.
I kind of like Closer. Also could have been Rock Bottom Month. Some tough times in Closer.
I feel like Hoffman could have snuck in there.
Imagine if he got nominated for this.
He's like, what?
And they showed the sharding scene and hit the Oscar clip.
Probably unanswerable questions. Was Philip Seymour Hoffman actually good at basketball? I think there's signs that he was.
So
there's a coordination that you could tell he's intentionally tanking the shooting.
He's in a really sad movie called Love Liza, and there's a scene in that movie where he shoots hoops alone in a gym, and you can tell like he kind of knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I saw Love Liza.
Yeah, pretty depressing.
He made a couple depressing ones.
Owning Mahoney, it's a tough one. Some sad ones. Yeah, the Savages, it's a sad one.
So this is actually a debate on the internets. Did this movie invent sharding? Had anyone ever thought of the word shart before?
I think a man had sharded before. That's something
sharding
I can confirm.
had happened.
Yep.
Had anyone ever called it a shart?
My career has been leading to this moment.
The theory was sharding existed pre-movie, but this popularized the shart.
Absolutely. I mean, cavemen, they sharded, of course.
The actual name sharding. Somebody saying, I sharded.
Did John Hamburg coin the term sharding?
That's the debate.
I would say maybe he didn't invent it, but that it had been in the ether. It had been in the world.
That's how I feel.
It had been in fraternities. It had been in the universe of discussion, and he popularized it.
It's like how I invented Las Vegas, the modern Las Vegas.
It's the same thing.
When I started going,
Absolutely.
Same thing for John Hamburg and sharding.
I have your back 100% on
Thank
that.
you. Appreciate it. So Hamburg says something here in one of the many interviews he did about this movie, and I just wanted to talk about it with you.
You were really grinding tape on this one. Going through the Hamburg interviews. I love it.
I really like this movie. He said, I think some movies, if you have a bathroom scene, you have a true uphill battle to get good reviews. I just feel like some people can't see beyond that and can't look at it like, oh, this is a real life situation. We've all been in these situations.
Mm-hmm.
Does a bathroom scene automatically drop you by like a star? It's an interesting concept.
Critically.
Like, would Ebert have given this a 3 if there was no bathroom scene?
But isn't there something about Mary critically acclaimed?
True. So that's where Hamburg's theory falls apart.
So I feel like actually it's shit. If there's a scene where shit is in the movie,
that kills it?
Down a star.
Okay. Best double feature choice with this movie? Would you go another Ben Stiller movie or would you go another funny Hoffman movie?
So neither. I would do the original The Heartbreak Kid.
Oh.
With Charles Grodin and Sybil Shepherd, which is a masterpiece, Elaine May movie.
Yeah.
That is very funny and has a very similar setup. And also is about like discomfort and weirdness and anxiety.
I like that movie.
Yeah, it's really funny.
That was one of those classic, why are we remaking this? Who wants this?
The first one, the original is perfect. And then the new one kind of misunderstood what made the first one so perfect, but whatever.
The Indian Red Zawane Award, what happened the next day? Hamburg says they never got married, but started a family and they're with their kids surfing in Costa Rica.
Is there any chance Deborah Messing made a comeback there? Or she popped in one night and was like, hey, still thinking about you.
My take is they last like 4 more weeks. And maybe he does end up with Deborah Messing.
Is it Polly's fault or is it Ruben's fault?
I just don't know how good of a hang Ruben was.
Did not seem very good.
It's like, oh, you learned the salsa with Javier for me.
Is Ben Stiller the most successful actor of all time at playing guys that you're like, I don't think I want to hang out with that guy?
Yeah, he's a rough hang. Who is he?
Seems like a nice guy in real life.
No, but the characters he picks, they're always, but I think that's why he picks them. Like Meet the Parents, he's a nurse and that becomes the running joke. There's always some form of weakness that somebody can pick a scab with them.
Yep.
That's his move. What piece of memorabilia would you want from this movie? There's clearly one answer. The game used basketball from Hoffman in the rain dance.
Craig told me before we started recording the loofah. That's what he wanted.
$200 loofah?
Yeah, game used.
Okay. Coach Finstock Award for best life lesson?
Well, it's got to be the fathers. speech,
the
right?
speech.
Enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
Just like you
Enjoy
told me
the
in
ride.
2012.
And then who won the movie? Hoffman.
Do you think that were people saying that in 2004 that Phil Hoffman won this movie?
I don't know, because I didn't see the movie until it was on cable, and Hoffman was the thing that jumped out at me right away. I would have thought actually they probably felt like Aniston having a hit was probably the winner initially, right?
Yeah, no, that's a good call.
It's like, oh, Aniston, finally she did it.
Yeah, and her name in the title of the movie, and she's on the poster, and it's sold on her.
Oh, maybe she can be a rom-com star.
Yeah.
But now it's clearly Hoffman. All right, what'd you think, Craig?
I hadn't seen this in a long time. I can't remember the first time I saw it, and it kind of just lives in clips now because I think of the Hoffman scene. Like if you look at other 04 comedies, it's like, or around then, Anchorman and 40-Year-Old Virgin and like Old School. I don't think it's on that level. It's definitely like a B comedy compared to it, but it's really enjoyable. It's almost like a great like background comedy now. But if this movie came out today, I would be afraid that it would just get buried and nobody would be able to find it. I think one thing that was so nice about 04 was like, because of the lack of competition and like for like people's attention, this movie just had time to like breathe, and it was on cable, and everybody was always constantly being reminded about this movie.
Yeah.
It's like if there were only 100 movies on Netflix, maybe No Hard Feelings would be a huge hit because it would just be one of the only things you could watch. And I think that's kind of why this movie has endured, because from 04 to 14, they're just like, I don't know, you were on cable and this was on all the time. And so you could just like see it more. And now No Hard Feelings will be buried amongst 10,000 other movies every day, even though it might be just as good.
I have a pop quiz for you guys related to the point that Craig is making. Can you name the last movie that John Hamburg directed?
No.
What is it?
It came out in 2022. It's called Me Time. It starred Mark Wahlberg and Kevin Hart, and it went straight to Netflix.
Yeah.
And that is not is that a movie to anyone? Like
Me Time?
Like that's a movie with two bona fide
probably
movie
like
stars.
$100 million budget.
Yes, huge movie from the director of Along Came Polly and I Love You Man and big comedy hits. And who saw that movie? Has there ever been a conversation outside of the one we're having right now about that movie? Like that is actually exactly what you're describing.
You know, I was talking to my daughter yesterday, and she was texting me. She was like, "You're not going to believe what I'm binging right now." I'm like, "What?" Sex in the City. I'm halfway through season 2.
Liz is rewatching that right now too.
We had been trying to get her to watch Sex in the City for 5 years because it was like, there's no way you like. My daughter actually has a sense of humor. Yeah. It was like, there's no way you're not going to like this. And she's like, those girls are kind of gross. They're too old. It's an old person show. But then it went on Netflix, and now she's ripping through it, and she's like, these four are so funny. The show's so great. Oh my God, I wish I had started watching it sooner. The only reason she watched it was because it was on that Netflix, that first thing. So it makes me think, like, does Netflix have the power to just do that to anything? Like, if Along Came Polly was just in the new movie thing, would this become a massive movie for a month? Just because Netflix was like, hey, this movie.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
like, what has ever in our lifetime had more power than Netflix deciding we'll put this in our carousel?
I mean, NBC at 8:30 on Thursdays in 1997. Not with movies, no. With movies, no. I mean, just the sheer audience, the hundreds of millions of subscribers, there's nothing to compare it to.
Felt like in the 80s, HBO, when they premiered a new movie, like I remember they'd be like, next month, Rambo First Blood Part 2. I'm like, oh my God, Rambo's going to be on HBO.
But you got to think about it like this, like not to be the biggest dork version of myself, but in 1930, when there was nothing to do at all in the universe,
whatever was in the movie theater,
every single person in America went to the movies because it was affordable and it was the number one form of entertainment.
Well, that was The Godfather. It was in the movies for what, 9 months?
And that's almost 50 years later than what I'm talking about. Like, you've got to imagine a world in which there's 250 million people and I'm talking about the
power of a movie that otherwise would not be considered. Just having somebody with this magic wand being like, boom. And now all of a sudden that movie becomes that. Because Netflix has done that over and over again. Like they just did it with The Accountant, which I think, and it's probably The Accountant will probably be doing in the Rewatchables pretty soon.
Good movie.
A good movie.
Gavin O'Connor.
Like it?
Yeah.
And then it was in the Netflix, went through the system, and it's been on and it's on, and it has these different legs now.
But my point about Me Time is that they actually can't always do it with their own movies.
True.
Like Rebel Moon, they want it to be their Star Wars.
Yeah.
And people are like, Star Wars on Netflix, I don't know if that really makes sense. I want to see Star Wars in a movie theater.
Right.
But a movie like you're describing is like, oh, The Accountant. This is easy to watch at home. Or like the way that Craig described Along Came Polly. It's like, put it on the background.
But it's rom-coms, it's smart action movies, and it's horror movies. Those are the three things that if Netflix just cherry picks anything and throws them on, it seems like it works.
Because people decided that they're comfortable watching those movies at home.
Yeah. And the algorithm likes them. Sean Fennessey, great to see you. This podcast was produced by Craig Horlbeck.
Hank Azaria, man, absolutely yoked in this movie. What was that guy doing off screen? He is so big. How is he so ripped in this film?
And then at the end, Ben Stiller also seems kind of ripped when he's walking in. Like it seems like everybody was doing squats.
Hank is one of the more ripped people I've ever seen on screen that like isn't an athlete. He is shockingly cut.
Honestly, he showed this off in the Birdcage like 10 years earlier too, where he was playing the housekeeper and he's also like jacked.
Like, was he taking steroids? You can't really look like that unless that's your job.
Yeah, he does. He looks like he's in the Iron Claw.
He's so big.
Zac Efron.
I don't know how he got so big.
He had a match with Bret Hart that night. Yeah, after Luban.
Well, do you think after Pacino yelled at him, because you got a great ass, or she's got a great ass, you got your head all the way up it, and he's like, I'm not strong enough right now,
man.
Good call, Craig. Craig, good to see you. We'll see you next week on the Rewatchables.